Okay. Can y'all hear me?
I can.
Yeah.
All right. It looked like it was frozen there for a minute. I think it was for a minute.
Not here.
Well, let's get started. So we have a special guest tonight, Joel, and he's from the
Why
United
is that
Policy.
connected?
Pardon me? Oh, here's somebody who wants to be admitted. I'm getting some echoes, you guys. I'm not sure why. So forgive me if I'm stopped for a minute. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, we're going to talk about insurance issues tonight, as well as giving some updates from our partners and agencies. And it should be a good meeting. So let's introduce ourselves. I'm Giselle Nova. I'm the coordinator for the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. And our special guest is Joel. How do you say your last name?
Not sure.
Introduce yourself and say a bit.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Loucher, and I work for United Policyholders, which is a nonprofit that the bulk of the work done by United Policyholders has typically been helping people with their catastrophe loss claims, with their homeowners insurance and working through the claims process and trying to maximize their coverage and make sure that they are treated fairly. We've been to Paradise many times, as well as places around the state: Ventura, San Bernardino, Los Angeles, San Diego. United Policyholders actually started after the Oakland fire, and our director, Amy Bach, is kind of well known as a great consumer advocate who she helped organize United Policyholders. For myself, I actually worked for the California Department of Insurance for 35 years before I joined United Policyholders, and I was ended my career there as Chief Deputy Commissioner under Dave Jones.
Oh, wow.
I did stay on as a consultant for the current commissioner, Ricardo Lara. And before all that, if time could go back even further, I was a commercial underwriter for a few years as well for insurance companies.
So you've done it all, and you should have a plethora of knowledge. You come well recommended. So let's introduce all the participants. Just a brief introduction, if you would, please. Joseph Hott.
Yeah, hi, I'm Joseph Hott with Black Mountain Fire Safe Council.
Doreen Mitchell. I'm thinking Doreen can't hear us. Oh, there she is.
I can hear you. Excuse me. I can hear you. I'm here. I am in Scott Bar, and we're hoping to resuscitate our Fire Safe Council. So this was the first step.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ron Rustin.
Hello, Ron Rustin, County Coordinator for the Shasta County Fire Safe Council here in Reading.
Welcome. Glenn Blakesley.
I'm a landowner between Syad Valley and Happy Camp.
Welcome. Jen Erickson.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Erickson. I'm the Fire Prevention Officer here on the Klamath National Forest.
Susie Brady.
Good evening. My name is Susie Brady. I'm the Fire Prevention Specialist, Unit Information Officer for CAL FIRE Siskiyou.
All right. And Jay Johnson, Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy Johnson. I'm the pre-fire engineer for the CAL FIRE Siskiyou unit.
Nancy Ogren.
Sorry there. Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Ogren, Siskiyou County Supervisor, District 4.
Marlene Ludlow.
Hi, I'm Marlene Ludlow, and I'm a homeowner in Mount Shasta.
Right. Pam Bates.
Hi, I'm Pam Bates. I'm the director of the Shasta County Fire Safe Council.
All right. Welcome, Pam. Owen Dalmullen.
Hey, this is Owen Cabo. I'm disaster services coordinator for Siskiyou Office of Emergency Services.
Welcome, Owen. And then there's an iPhone. Is somebody on an iPhone that would like to say hello? No name. Okay, Pamela Nirona.
Yes, hello, everyone. I'm a recent property and homeowner in eastern Siskiyou County, east of McLeod in the Mount Shasta Forest subdivision, and very interested in what you're doing in Siskiyou County. I formerly lived in Mount Shasta now for the past 9 years, and now a property owner east of McLeod. Nice to see you all. Thank you.
All right, welcome. Matt from CORE.
I am Matt from CORE. I'm the program coordinator for disaster preparedness.
And Joseph.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yosef Jalil. I'm the California Area Director for CORE. We're working with the FSC on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. Forward to doing that.
All right. So that's all I can see. Is there someone that I did not introduce? Because I don't see anyone else, but who knows? Oh, there's George Jennings. George, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, who are we speaking to?
This is Linda Winger from Scott Bar. I'm with
Linda.
Maureen Mitchell.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
George, would you like to introduce yourself?
My headset working?
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
George Jennings, Wairika Area Fire Safe Council.
Right. Anyone else that I might have missed? And sorry if I did. All right. So we're going to go on to the next step or the next item on our agenda, and that's Joel. Joel, do you want me to put up the PowerPoint, or do you want to say a few words first?
No, we can jump right into it. If you want to display it, that works for me either way.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, let's see if we can get it to work. There we go.
Okay, we can start right there. I already mentioned I'm with United Policyholders, and the United Policyholders just works from grants and donations, not funded by insurance companies, and been around, as I mentioned, since the Oakland fire. Next slide, please. So right now, we still are working with people from fire losses, some in Colorado. We have staff right now. Some of our volunteers are in Lahaina, Hawaii. But a thing we're kind of dealing with more and more is the availability and affordability of insurance coverage. I think we all kind of took that for granted, and that we'd always be able to get homeowners policy, renters, or condominium townhouse policies. And things have changed. It's become a real challenge in a lot of communities. I would expect folks in your communities particularly might be experiencing difficulties, non-renewals, or significant increases in premium. And I think if you are non-renewed, as we note here at the bottom of the screen, you have to really work hard to find new coverage with another insurer if you can. And whether you're changing insurers or staying with your current longtime insurer, you've probably seen your premiums double or triple, and sometimes more than that over the last few years. Next slide, please. So some homes actually find it easy to find coverage. And there are some easy measures you can take. Here's a home that has had no trouble getting fire insurance. So you can follow this model. It's a good one for you. Next slide, please. Another option is kind of an older take on fire safety. Another approach, just make sure that it's non-combustible materials leading to the home, and you're set to go with coverage should be, again, readily available. Next slide, please.
Huh. That's the same one. Let's see if we can make it do it.
But can you get flood insurance?
Well,
Yeah.
that is the challenge. Win some, you lose some.
Yeah, let me see what's going on here. It doesn't want to move.
So if you didn't build your home like either of those last two examples, you're probably finding coverage is very limited, as we mentioned, and
I'm working here. For some reason it doesn't want to go forward. Let's see. We saw that. Let's do this and see if we can't share this screen. And view full screen share. Is that the next one?
yes, it is.
Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna have to, okay, just.
We can leave it like that if you'd
Okay.
like. It's
Okay.
not perfect visual, but it'll get
Right.
the idea across.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
one of the things that we typically find after any kind of catastrophic loss is that many homeowners, typically 80% or more, are underinsured. And I know this is a tough time to talk about increasing your limits at a point in time when we're seeing our premiums increase. But of course, you buy homeowners coverage for a particular purpose, and that is to help you rebuild, if you did have a loss, which is very unlikely for anybody to have, but still a possibility, of course, that we do realize that lots of people face every year, and increasingly more so. So my own insurance coverage, as I looked at what my insurer had insured me for, was about $250 a square foot.
Wow.
They send you a nice estimate of replacement cost, the construction costs every 2 years. So it looks like a very valid estimate of the cost to rebuild your home. But very commonly, those numbers are far short. My home would be well over $250 a square foot. I live in Moraga down in the East Bay, in the hills on the other side of Oakland. And I'm sure it'd be $350 or more. And for any home, that's kind of like on a hillside and has special foundation or high quality finishes in the kitchen and bathrooms, windows, roof, it could be much more, $400, $500, even $600, $700 a square foot. So try to get an idea of a realistic cost per square foot for a home like yours in the region where you live, and at least move your homeowner's coverage limit to something, in the range of reason for, the possibility of having to rebuild your home. So again, underinsurance, very common problem. Next slide, please. And I don't know if any of you in particular are condominium owners, but it sounds like some of you represent other agencies or communities. Condominium owners have kind of a double whammy going on now because of the values involved in condominium associations. they are finding even harder time placing the homeowners association or major increases for their homeowners association to cover the buildings. But for your individual units as well, condominium owners typically have much lower values on their policies because they don't own the structure. And they have the same similar coverages, such as loss of use and contents. But the loss of use limits, what you'd need, money you could use to rent elsewhere if, you were unable to live in your condominium or townhome for some time. Those limits are, those loss of use limits or additional living expense limits are typically much lower than a homeowner's limits, right? But you may be out of your townhome or condominium for much longer because it takes longer to rebuild a condominium association building, right? Because it's a larger building, more permits to do, all of that. So if you can, if you're a condominium owner or a townhome owner, at least look into increasing what's called loss of use or additional living expense coverage to something that would kind of last you a bit longer should you have to move out of your home and stay in other living location while the townhome is repaired or rebuilt. So additional living expense under insurance. Next slide, please. One thing we advise everybody to do is take some level of inventory of your personal property. Again, in that remote chance that you have a total loss and your home were to burn down, you do have coverage for your contents, but an insurer can require you to go through a whole listing of all your contents. Now, fortunately, you could kind of group them into instead of listing every record or CD you have, if you have an old collection of those, you can bunch some of these things together, but you still have to create lists, basically, of everything you own, when you bought it, what condition it was in, how much you paid for it, and go through all of that process in order to recapture from your insurance the actual cash value or the replacement value of your belongings. And of course, you're going to forget a lot of the things you have. And so, of course, it'd be very tedious to go through this process without a loss, even while you see all of it right in front of you. So we suggest that at the very least, you walk through your home and take a phone video or pictures probably better, but at least a video of everything in your home, right? All your furnishings, in all your rooms, but also opening your drawers to film or take pictures of everything that's in your drawers, in your cabinets, your kitchen cabinets, all your dishes and cooking utensils. These are a lot of things that you might forget, all that you had if you have a claim, and having those photos or video can really both prove that you own those things, but also remind you of the detail of how many things you own, right? You're going to forget the potato peelers or the 8th pair of shoes that you had, or, whatever it is, the mixer. It's a lot to go through at the time of loss, and this kind of inventory can really help you out and speed the process along. Next slide, please. So one thing I want to highly recommend, and if you do have issues, either your insurance premium increasing dramatically, perhaps feeling almost to unaffordable levels, or you get a non-renewal notice, and you're obligated to, look for additional coverage or new coverage. The California Department of Insurance has a great web page and has a lot of different kind of buttons on that web page that provide you different levels of information. The one that I like the best, in part maybe because I wrote it, is when I was at the Department of Insurance, is the top 10 tips. It kind of provides the various major ways to find coverage. One of those, as an example, is a listing of the 800 number of every insurer, and I'll say admitted insurer, that writes homeowners coverage in California. So we've all heard of, the big names, Farmers, State Farm, Allstate, Geico, but there are a lot of smaller insurers that write homeowners coverage as well. You can go through that list and, there are like 100 insurers and call their 800 number. And some of them write directly. Most of them write through agents. Call that 800 number, ask for an agent close to your town or zip code or county, and try to get a quote from every one of them to find. Sometimes you might have to go through 80 of them before one will write new coverage in a higher risk area. But again, this top 10 tips lists all the insurers, gives 800 numbers, gives you tips on how to search for coverage, things that are very important. If you're in this bind, you might find it's very challenging to get out of it, but this is the best you can do, is shop the entire marketplace. And actually, if people want to ask questions while we go, I don't mind that either. I don't know if we skipped a slide or if, let's see. No, I guess we're good. Okay, next slide then. So after you, if you get that non-renewal notice and you do shop the whole marketplace and you can't find a single insurer that will write your coverage, there's the FAIR plan, the insurer of last resort, as it's referred to. It is available to anybody who that owns their home and can't find coverage anywhere else. It's a very basic insurance. And the thing I want to remind you of here simply is, if you do end up there, I would say every few months, try again all those other insurers, because Fair Plan insurance, despite being minimal, is very pricey. And you're going to need to complement that coverage with another policy, sometimes called a difference in conditions policy or a wraparound coverage, because a Fair Plan policy is basically a fire insurance policy. That's the main peril. It has some other coverage, but for example, it doesn't cover water damage. Water damage is the second most common homeowners insurance claim. Fair Plan coverage doesn't include liability coverage. Although liability claims are few, somebody that injures themselves on your property where you are liable can be a major cost or loss and could cost you your home if you don't have that coverage. So you always want to have liability coverage, despite the fact that you rarely will need it. Hopefully you never will. But again, Fair Plan, if you end up there, keep shopping, and try to buy as complete a Fair Plan coverage as you can afford, and always buy a DIC in addition. Next slide, please. So just to reiterate what's really important, you want to have adequate coverage A limits. That's your dwelling limit. No matter what coverage you have, you don't want to end up underinsured. The purpose of buying dwelling, homeowners coverage, fair plan coverage, is to be able to rebuild your home. You always want replacement cost, which is the cost to buy new over actual cash value coverage. Actual cash value coverage means it is the cost after depreciation and aging of the item. That some homeowners policies only give you actual cash value coverage. And if your furniture, for example, is 15 years old, they're going to diminish its value by, quite a significant amount due to age, even if it's in great condition. You always want extended replacement cost coverage. That's an extra percentage above your home limit on homeowners policy. Those range from one coverage to another, from one insurer to another. Sometimes it's 25%. Some insurers offer 50%. Some policies have more. And that means if you had a $500,000 limit on your home, and your home was a total loss, you could use that extended replacement coverage to spend up to $750,000. And what the basis is going to be, to the cost it would be to rebuild the home as it existed before the fire, right? Not just any new home that you want to build, but the cost to rebuild and replace the home that previously existed. You always want building code upgrade coverage, because you'll find that there are a lot of new limitations and costs on rebuilding a home. Different kind of foundation, different kind of pipes that might move in, different kind of roof types and windows. All of these things add up. So while your coverage A limit is going to cover the cost to rebuild, that's covering the cost to rebuild your house as it was. The building code upgrade gives you the extra dollars to rebuild your house to be compliant with new standards.
And as soon as we're done, maybe let's quit wood, maybe.
Sorry,
Maybe
go
you can
ahead.
do more raking. Figures.
I'm sorry, if that was a question, I missed it. Okay, so I'll just move on. Just a reminder that some things like art, jewelry, business property have sublimits, means they have limitations in your policy so that they won't, if you have a $25,000 diamond ring, and I hope you all do, or even better, you might find that your policy may have a limitation on jewelry. Could be a total cap of $2,500 or $5,000. So, unless you buy a specific limit for a particular item, such as art or jewelry, you might find your coverage severely limited if you had to replace those items. And of course, hopefully most of you know, a standard homeowner's policy does not cover flood or earthquake or earth movement. You have to buy separate coverages to cover those perils. Next slide, please. So, tips to save money. You need a proactive insurance broker or agent if you're, using independent agent carriers. Somebody that represents a lot of carriers is going to shop around for you. In today's market, if you're trying to find replacement coverage, you're probably going to have to work with multiple agents to find an insurer that can cover you. And one, piece of advice here is, if you just go to one agent, you get non-renewed and your own agent can't find new coverage for you, but can place you with the fair plan, don't just accept that as, your only opportunity for new coverage. Many agents only represent 4, 5, 6 insurers. And there are, as I mentioned, dozens of insurers out there, but you have to shop through multiple agents to cover that whole market. So for each agent you work with, you have to find out which insurers they marketed your coverage with. So, there's both about trying to save money and trying to shop for insurance. Multiple agents may be what you need. You need your agent to find out all the discounts any one insurer that offers you coverage might offer that you might be eligible for. And we always recommend raise your deductible. Many of us placed our insurance years ago with, our particular carrier, might have chosen a $500 deductible at that time. And we just keep renewing the policy as it was. And a $500 deductible is just too small today. You want to have a much higher deductible. For one thing, it lowers your premium. You get a discount for a higher deductible. And for the second thing, you don't really want to be making a claim for a $500 loss if you can afford to do that repair. You want to carry a deductible at least to a limit that if you can afford to do the repair, you do it without making a claim. Because, the unfortunate thing, people who make claims are going to be likely to get non-renewed at some point in time. It just is a kind of a strike against you in the underwriting process. So if you can avoid making the claim, do it. If it's a major loss, that's what insurance is for, to make those claims, right? Insurers or agents may tell you, it's not a maintenance policy. Every time something gets wet at home, you don't want to make a claim. You want to save your insurance coverage for the big claims. So next slide, please. I'm just going to touch on these quickly. It's something that you will need to talk to your agent about. But one thing very important for people on this call, the Department of Insurance has mandated that every insurer file to start including a certain set of discounts in their property insurance rating plans. So that can be commercial, dwelling, condo, condominium association, anywhere where the insurer uses some consideration of wildfire in the rates. They also now have to consider these discounts in their rates. And the community level ones include a fire risk reduction community, which you might be part of that. But sounds like many of you might live in a FireWise USA community. Those are going to get a discount with every insurer, probably starting the beginning of next year. But there are already insurers who offer FireWise discounts. So shop around if your insurer isn't offering that today. Next slide, please. But there's also a whole set of other discounts that are being mandated. Some of them are property level. They're about maintaining a neat landscape, basically, that, in front of your home, where you have a 5-foot clearance around the home. You don't have a bunch of combustible structures adjacent to your dwelling structure. So other property level mitigations that you can do, each of which will be worthy of its own individual discount. Next slide, please. And then there's going to be a set of dwelling structure related discounts or commercial structure related discounts, such as having a Class A fire rated roof, which probably all of you do today, but also enclosed eaves or fire resistant vents, those very tight mesh screens that don't allow embers to penetrate. Multi-pane windows, right? Not the older single pane glass. And 6 inches of non-combustible vertical clearance between the ground and any combustible siding of your home. So those will also be mandated. Again, some insurers already offer some or all of these. Class A rated roof is probably a rating factor for most homeowners insurers today. But every insurer will have to give that rate differential. And they probably, hopefully have already filed for it. They need approval from the department to implement some of these changes that they didn't have already in place. And then they'll have some time to implement the change in the rating plans and offer it at renewal. So you might not see it in the next couple months, but hopefully you'll see it at least in the beginning of next year.
Joel,
Yes.
can you please tell us when these mandates become effective?
Yeah, the mandate was, I think, just this month, actually, for the insurer to make the filing. So the Department of Insurance put the law into effect, I think in May, but insurers had time to put together their rate filings with these discounts. Then they have to submit them, which is happening now. Some already have submitted them a month or two ago, but some of those have just come in where the insurer makes a filing, has to justify what level of discounts it's going to give based on its expectations of the impact of those discounts on its business. The department has to review those and approve them. And then the insurer has to program them right into their computers in time to send them out with the renewal notices that go out, and those, have to go out 45 days in advance. So honestly, I really don't expect them into sometime early next year before you'll be seeing them for the insurers that are only implementing them because they had to. As I mentioned, there are some insurers that already have some of these in place. I don't think any of them had all of these in place. These are very similar also to the IBHS wildfire prepared home that some insurers adopted as a discount program if you met the IBHS standards. So again, take a look at these. They're online, mandatory discounts, but it may be a while before you see them. And one thing I, always have to share with folks, discounts only apply if the insurer writes your coverage. But you can do all these things and an insurer isn't mandated to offer you coverage. So that's a separate thing. Underwriting standards that insurers use are who's eligible for new business and renewal can be very challenging standard and increasingly difficult in these last couple of years to qualify for coverage. But if you do qualify for coverage, the insurers will give you these discounts if you meet these standards. And I will say also, likely the initial discounts for each one of these items will be fairly small, 2, 3, 4, 5% at most for each one. Cumulatively, they do add up to something. But, these may not be big game changers for you, but realistically, the main focus here is really on avoiding loss. And these are proven to help you do that. And avoiding loss helps you avoid claims. And going through the whole process, obviously, you never want to have to rebuild your home. And it could keep you covered with an insurer. Hopefully these will become to continue coverage, honestly.
Well, I've already taken many of these measures, but a recent conversation with my agent didn't reveal any discounts. So I'll wait and see if discounts are offered in the future for having done these things. In practice, if you were to
check
exercise your discount rights under the mandate, any chance you'd find yourself without a policy soon thereafter?
No, I know we don't trust insurers to very far, but I don't think that is going to be an issue. They are making their underwriting changes based on much broader considerations than than weeding out the people who have done these mitigations and want the discounts. And I got to tell you and this is kind of technical, but the way discounts work, it does not really, the insurer takes in the same amount of money overall. In a given year, it's just the people who live in the lower claim areas or have the more mitigated homes pay a little less, and the people who live in higher risk areas or don't take mitigation pay a little more. So this, I think that they will welcome people who do the discounts. So don't worry about, making sure that you get every discount you're entitled to once the insurer has adopted the discounts into its rating plan. So it's a question you could ask your agent right now or your insurer. Do you already have any of these discounts in place? Or when do you expect that you will make them available, you being my insurer? When do you expect you will be offering them? So you're welcome to do that. I don't think that's going to be any cause for a non-renewal. Next slide, please. So again, kind of in line with that question, reducing risk helps your insurance profile. All of these steps, some of them challenging, in suburbia, kind of where I live, in a kind of a mix. I have a wooden fence that surrounds my yard and around the back and wraps around and, taps in on each side of my home with a wooden gate. So, they call that a wick that will bring fire right from, the neighbor's home to the fence and right to my house. So, now there's a standard that wants you to have 5 feet of non-combustible materials right up to your, 5 feet away from your home. So no more wooden gates. But all of these things that are discount related or, just practical to do, improve your risk profile. So anything you can do to help that is a good thing. Listos, California, you can see their little logo here is a state information site, listos.ca.gov. Great information there, as well as uphelp.org. Next slide, please. We have a county by county information at United Policyholders. Again, here's our webpage. You can find out information relative to your specific counties in many cases. So please feel free to, we welcome anyone who wants to come and look at our resources and recommendations. Next slide, please. I mentioned Listos, great resource, lots of information, guides that are available. These are shareable with anybody in your community. Your fire safe council can share this information, Firewise communities. Really, one of the things we always share is that when you take mitigation actions to protect your home, you are helping mitigate your neighbor's loss, likelihood of loss, right? So each one of us that mitigates our home is helping our neighbors. So it's not just an individual activity or self-serving, it is a community level of donation, in a sense, in terms of the risk reduction to your community. And I really appreciate those of you who are involved at community levels in doing this work and getting this message out. So next slide, please.
If I may just interject here, the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County does a lot of outreaches, and we pass out this disaster ready guide at all of our out. We stuff it full of a bunch of stuff and other brochures, and we give it out, and people are very happy to take them. So it's a good one.
Yeah, it's great. And the cost is very good. Free.
Yep.
So again, UP, we're here to help United policyholders. I welcome any other questions you might have. I'll do my best to answer them.
Right. Any questions, y'all? This is your time. So as far as fire-wise communities, you're saying that that won't happen till next January? I was thinking it was already in place with some insurers.
It is. With some insurers had done these voluntarily. They don't, I don't think any of them has the full set. And some of them are going to be implementing them by the end of the year, is hopeful, but realistically, I think most of us will see these sometime early next year in our next renewal next year.
Can you tell us? Oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay, Marnie.
Okay, I was just wondering, like, who are these insurers that are willing to insure us? I mean, Allstate is pulling out, although so far they haven't canceled me after removing $12,000 worth of trees because they were close to the house, moving the woodshed for $5,000, etc. And Nationwide pulled out. What insurers are there that are insuring? Names that we would know, for instance.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I really couldn't tell you specifically who might insure in your region. I personally, my own insurer's financial rating dropped recently, and my loan mortgage company wouldn't accept that financial rating, so I had to find a new carrier. I found coverage with Travelers Insurance.
Oh.
But, you know, it really depends on, again, location.
Yeah.
In terms of typically, you know, every insurer in California at this point in time uses some kind of wildfire risk model to evaluate eligibility. And as I mentioned, you can take all those measures for mitigation, but that wildfire risk measure is still a separate consideration. And, you know, an insurer could, you know, as long as their standards are objective, risk-related, and applied consistently, they're allowed to set a very, you know, safe bar if that's where they choose to limit business to, you know, such as a fire protection class 1 or 2 if they wanted to, you know, versus a fire protection class 6.
Well, why don't they just charge extra, like a 25% penalty or something? Like if you were a horrible driver and they insure you, but you know they really rack up your.
Understand that?
Yeah, I don't understand why they just don't do that, as opposed to pulling out.
Coverage has kind of a comfort zone where they know what they're doing and have kind of processes in place to understand how to, let's say, modify or underwrite certain levels of hazard. But what happens, and I'm kind of explaining what's called underwriting now, which is the set of eligibility standards that any insurer has.
Right.
Is they just don't know necessarily the mitigations or the what to require of higher risk insureds, or they just get a comfort zone, and you say to an insurer, or an insurer will tell you, I can't just surcharge my way out of something to write risks I just don't know how to handle, and I just I'm not familiar with. So they each some set higher levels of risk that they're willing to write and do price accordingly, but others are more urban, safer from certain hazards, and honestly sometimes subjected to other hazards, a frequency of other hazards, such as theft or liability. But, insurers are free countrywide to set the standard of risk they're willing to write. And, the state or federal government does not have any legislation to require otherwise.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, if they can pull out of a whole state, and that's just seems ridiculous. And then they'll pull out of Florida because they have, floods and hurricanes. Who are they going to insure?
Yeah.
No,
I will say that I don't think any insurers have pulled out of California. What we're seeing kind of in the headlines in most cases is kind of an overstatement. In most cases, the insurers you've seen are not writing new business, but they're not non-renewing all their current insureds. They're just not writing new business. And, that's already been the situation in many high hazard regions where they have stopped writing new business, but will renew. And in other regions, some insurers won't write there and did non-renew, but only in higher risk areas. So I don't think any of the insurers in California have actually pulled out. In Florida, they do have some restrictions and levels of risk that have caused insurers to, I think, pull up and leave entirely. I don't think that's happened here.
So my other question with Firewise is, what percentage of reduction can we expect, and how can we be assured that as a Firewise community that those areas will not be dropped?
Yeah, so each insurer will have a different level of discount for the community to requirements. I expect that a Firewise community will probably be somewhere in a range of about 5% or so. Could be 8%, it could be 4%, but that's just my guesstimate. A couple insurers are already in that range. But again, insurer isn't going to say they're going to non-renew somebody for being in a Firewise community, but they are going to have a threshold in terms of wildfire risk. And if you're over that threshold, it may not matter if you're in a Firewise community or if you've done all the mitigation. These steps are only about doing all you can control. And being in a Firewise community is one of them. And it can help you, but it's not a guarantee.
Okay.
Because, insurer can choose to not write older homes, or it could choose to not write homes with shake roofs, or it could choose not to write homes, with a fire risk score of X, whatever that is. And any one of those will not matter if you're in a fire safe community. It's the difference between an eligibility standard and a rating standard.
Would you say it's worth it to communities to pursue FireWise communities?
Well, absolutely. And for two good reasons. A, if whoever your insurer is, including the FAIR plan, if you're in fire safe, FireWise community, FireWise community, you're going to get a discount. Two, ultimately, insurance rates are driven reduce the likelihood of loss. The fewer the losses you will have, and the fewer the losses you will have, the lower your rates go. All of our rates go down if everybody did all the mitigations and everybody joined a fire safe community or FireWise community and reduced our likelihood of loss, and homes weren't burning down because of embers penetrating vents or lighting houses on fire because of their wood shake roofs. Losses would go down and premiums would go down. So it's always makes sense to take any risk reduction steps. Some insurers will give you rewards for them. Some will give you advantages for underwriting eligibility. It's just that they all don't, but some do, and reducing risk is always a great thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, anybody else have questions for Joel?
This is George. I have a question.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Hey, so the FireWise communities, if my understanding correct, is they like to keep the numbers around like 200 or 300 homes. They're not big. They want to group them in smaller groups. So if you live in a community like Wairika where there's 7,000 people, is there something for those groups when the community's doing a lot of work, or you've done a lot of stuff around your own house, but you can't really, realistically, they don't really want 5,000 people in those FireWise communities. They want smaller groupings. Is there something for groups like that?
Yeah, well, one thing I'd say, I know there are a lot of individual towns that have a half dozen FireWise communities. So, the best thing, of course, would be, okay, you live on this other side of town, or they've hit kind of their limit on where they want their membership to be, is to start another. Again, you can have a dozen in a town. It's really helpful to do that. You're still, even if you can't join a FireWise community, there's still other underwriting standards that are going to apply. One thing, if your local fire district does some kind of major fuel break, it could lower your wildfire score more broadly than even a FireWise community's activities. So there are community level actions or county level, state level actions that could be helpful. But also anything you do around your home, of course, makes you a better underwriting selection for any insurer. So it always makes sense to do your own home, no matter what, limitations there are on becoming part of a FireWise community or whatever shortcomings your geography might pose.
One thing I ran into a few years ago was I got to talking to my insurance agent, and we were talking about our rating, and he goes, your rating doesn't really make sense in the middle of Wairika. So he got to looking at it, and my rating was not correct. So one of the things maybe folks should look at too is look at your rating and make sure that it's, it's where it should be. Because mine was wrong and my insurance went down because it was physically placing me in a place that was higher risk that I wasn't in.
Yeah, it can be your protection class. Of course, that goes by your fire department. You want to make sure they've got you grouped in the right fire agency, particularly if they have you as located outside of a township when you're really within that township and protected by that fire department for the town, as opposed to CAL FIRE or a volunteer fire department. Yeah, you always want to double check to make sure, with your agent, that you're properly placed in the rating factors and that they tell you every discount that the insurer offers, and you make sure you get every discount that you're entitled to. Any other questions?
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
have a question. This is Pam. When you were talking about the rating, I actually have a situation here locally where a seasonal fire station actually became a year-round fire station, which should change the rating for our area. But how does that information or any other major improvements to your area, we were talking about fuel break, how does that information get conveyed to the insurer if the rating is not done by the insurance company, it's done by an independent entity?
Right. Yeah, so you might want to talk to I don't, so insurers still, even if it's full-time, is it full-time volunteer or it's full-time professional? I guess is the first question.
It's full-time professional.
Okay. So typically that your fire department, if it doesn't have contacts with the insurance services office called ISO, they want to talk to the next adjacent local fire department that probably can give them, some kind of communication. Insurers use the ratings that are done by what's called the insurance services office. And those ratings go from 1 to 10, typically, and a 1 is the most protected. Those tend to be high-level urban areas where they're, super well-equipped, lots of staff, that kind of thing. Most urban and suburban areas are typically in a 3, 4, 5 kind of rating. And then as you get more into rural communities, you tend to get 6, 7, 8. And then you get 9, 10, more or less considered unprotected. The insurers don't consider CAL FIRE as, responding as a fire department. They really don't consider volunteer departments. So if your agency goes from volunteer part-time to a full-time professional department, they're going to want to reach out to the insurance services office to have an inspection and a rating. That rating includes, not only the staffing, but the equipment that's available to those staff.
Hey, Joel, do you recommend that people contact their fire chief and, see if their rating makes sense? And then also, like I know in Wairika, there's some talk about going to full-time professional. That should make a difference for Wairika. And I guess, I know they're going to have to pay for that somehow. So that may be a sales tax or something, but I think it also could lead to keeping your insurance in some of these communities. So sometimes paying a little bit more either sales tax or some other fee, in the long run could probably, have a chance of saving your insurance and or even reducing it if you're supporting your fire. One of the people recommend the Fire Chiefs Association, Bernie Paul, he's the president of the Fire Chiefs Association for the county, to contact those types of folks to, check on your rating and check and see how you can help.
Yeah, as I mentioned, your fire class rating is part of your insurance premium rating plan. So the lower your fire classification is, the lower your rate is typically. And it would probably make a significant difference, not only in your rate, but in your eligibility for your community to have go from a non-rating to a rated ISO fire department. I'm sure it would save you more on insurance than the tax to pay for it would be. But either way, obviously, to me, it would be worth it. There is a manual that insurers use that show the fire classification manual. It's electronic at this point in time, I should say, of every community in the country. They use this nationwide generally. So, you want to make sure that your home is aligned with the community you live in, your address is properly rated, and they have the current protection class rating of your fire department. 99% odds are that they do, but it doesn't hurt to check. So definitely want to make sure they have your fire department listed. If you have a professional department and you want that fire protection classification for your fire department to be accurate in the insurer's rating plan. Your agent should be able to track that information down for you.
All right, thank you, Joel. Anybody else? Well, we got him here. Let's use his
I had
knowledge.
a quick question. I had a quick question, Giselle, for him.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, Joel, I was in Marika. This question is about evacuees here lately on the incident of the downriver head fire. Where do we send evacuees that get evacuated from fires that have full coverage insurance, and they basically end up losing everything, homes, vehicles, etc. And then they get sent to fire shelters. My question is, are there any insurance agents that are set up at fire shelters, or where do we send the evacuees of these fire incidents to start the process of the recovery, and where do we send them to, basically, on an incident like that?
Okay, well, first, anybody with homeowners, renters, condominium, townhouse insurance is going to have what's called additional living expense coverage, I mentioned earlier, sometimes called ALE. And so they're going to have some amount of money, right, to spend on rent for the duration while they rebuild. Or, of course, they can choose, in California, you can choose to spend the money from your home instead of rebuilding it to buy elsewhere. But generally speaking, after a catastrophic loss, the state emergency services, Office of Emergency Services, sets up either a disaster location or a
local assistance center.
Yeah, local assistance center or a disaster assistance center. And you can go there for information on all sorts of things. But and including, how does my insurance work? but your agent or your insurer should be informing you immediately, right? You should be able to call them and get immediate information about, what are my limits for additional living expense? You're going to, initially, a lot of people end up in a shelter, commonly for no cost, but more commonly, they end up in a hotel or motel for some period of time.
Yeah, that's where they sent the person I'm talking about. They set her up in a motel room, but when she was in the motel room, she didn't know the beginning process, where to go, and the right personnel to contact to get her process started.
Yeah, so an insurer is obligated to assign an adjuster immediately to that loss, and that adjuster is your contact person for accessing your insurance coverages. So the first thing typically a person wants is to contact that adjuster and get them to give you some portion, not only of your additional living expense limits, but of your contents limit, right? So that you can go out and purchase clothing, bathroom items, kitchen items, whatever it is you need for your immediate day-to-day living. So that really is your adjuster. If your friend's insurance company isn't responding immediately, you should contact the California Department of Insurance at their toll-free number, and their Claim Services Bureau will, step right in and, take the call and give advice on how to start down the path of that claim. And one thing generally to advise your friend is, if you do have a total loss, given the change in building codes, the need to get plans, the need to find a contractor and go through this whole process, it takes a long time, and you want to really be careful on how you're spending those additional living expense limits.
Okay.
You can go through them very quickly, right? If you stay in a hotel for long, for example, or rent a home, and that's what you're likely to need to do. A lot of people move to somewhere fairly inexpensive to handle that process, which is also challenging because you're having to manage a rebuilding situation that's happening, where you used to live. So there are a lot of challenges. And if you go to United Policyholders, we also have information for people that are in this situation. So go on to uphelp.org and also ask a question there, or for your friend to state their situation and ask for some assistance.
Okay. And then one quick question on that. I agree with all of that. At a fire shelter, when evacuees first get to the fire shelter, who would be the first person at a fire shelter to contact to start that process you basically just explained? Is there anybody at fire shelters or at fire camps that these evacuees can go to to start the right process, like you were just saying, in steps? Is there anyone that is set up besides Red Cross and those kind of agencies that could lead them in the right direction?
Yeah, so typically the Office of Emergency Services is going to have staff there. Sometimes you're going to find people, if it's a federally declared disaster, you're going to see FEMA people there. But there's going to be a state agency there. There will be charities. Many insurers set up tables there if they have multiple policyholders in that area. So, a state farm may have a table at these centers. The Department of Insurance is likely to have a table there. if there are quite a few residential losses. But if none of those are there, depending on the size of loss, again, you want to contact your agent or contact the insurer directly to get a claims adjuster assigned immediately so that you can start processing, your coverage. If they're in a center and, they place them sometimes in a place, there may be no cost to the consumer for some short period of time. But, like you say, in some motel room that might be paid for by FEMA or Cal OES. But at some time soon, you're going to have to start leveraging your own insurance coverage or, your own funds. So contact your insurer, contact the state workers that are there, or contact the Department of Insurance would be my recommendation.
Perfect. Thank
Joel,
you so much.
This is very timely and important information considering all the fires and the loss of structures and folks here in Siskiyou County. We appreciate it. So we're going to move on unless somebody has a real burning desire to ask another question. Maybe you do. So
no burning desires.
Right? All righty. Well, Community Wildfire Defense Grant is the next thing on our list here. As you all know,
thank you all, and I wish you all the best.
Joel. You're welcome to stay around and listen to what everybody has to say. We've got some good stuff going on here, so that's up to you. Yeah, I know you've got a busy life.
I'll give you 10 minutes. And then I'll just depart quietly.
Oh,
I'll hang in for 10 minutes and then depart quietly.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joel. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, there was a question in chat. May we share that PowerPoint and put it on our website for people to go to and look at?
Don't tell me about it if you do, just in case you shouldn't.
Oh. Oh, no. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. Thank you again so much. So let's move on to the Community Wildfire Defense Grant, or the CWDG. As you all know, the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County did get almost 10 million. We're still in the grants and agreements process, so that's not rolling out. We've got a team that's formed a matrix to help decide where that is all going to be distributed. It'll all be good, I assure you. But there's another round of this particular grant coming up soon. And I put into chat all of the links where you can find it, where you can find the application. Application is due October 31st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So that will be 8:59 our time. Be wary and don't get yourself caught. And you will need a access number for the portal ASAP. So go to the website and find that and request one. Also, the Klamath Basin Wildfire Crisis Strategy Landscape Coordination Team that's here locally on the KNF received a large amount of money, and they are using some of that to help others apply for these grants. And they have a Zoom coming up tomorrow at 4 o'clock. The link is in chat. Go there. And there's also an identical webinar that was filmed on August 31st, and that can be viewed at a link that you will also find in chat. So if you're interested and you have a project that you think will fit, you can go to their website to see which projects are will qualify. Please do that. This is a really good opportunity. We don't know how much longer this large amount of money will be available. So take advantage of it while you can. I encourage you. Worm burner, next golf update. They awarded the Fire Safe Council the proceeds from that fundraiser was $34,000. So we will be meeting soon, the board of directors, to decide how they want to spend that. And they assure me that we're not going to get to take a vacation to some tropical island, that we're going to have to actually put it on the ground, and we will. So CAL FIRE update.
We'll make it short and sweet. Just want to let you guys know we do have a new battalion chief, John Jones. He is the new battalion chief over the crews, so our firefighter 1 hand crews, as well as our Deadwood crews. So we welcome him on board. He was a fire captain for us. He just promoted. Besides that, we're moving kind of out of fire season, but kind of not. We want to remind folks that the burn suspension is still in place, so no outdoor burning. Our fuels are pretty dry still out there, and we are getting folks starting fires with the colder weather. Besides that, we will be moving into our fuels reduction projects here within the next 2 months. You may see us out and about in your communities doing some projects. Starting September 25th and 26th will be our first VMP project in the Scott River Ranch. And that's roughly going to be about 500 acres. We've been working on that project for probably the last year for sure. Could be a little over that, just prepping that to make sure we're reducing the fuels there. A big one we do want to make sure you guys are aware of is the Lake Siskiyou North Shore project. We have crews out there currently right now working on reducing some fuel loads and working on slash piles that were left there from the timber company. So we're trying to make sure that we remove that fuel load out of there. So we will be doing some burning later on in mid-October-ish. So we're going to need your guys' help helping us spread the good news about us doing that burn out there. And then we also have another one with the Modoc Nation tribe, about 310 acres in October, and also another one on Red Rock. So we'll be very busy here in the next couple months with our projects. But besides that, I'll turn it over to my partner, Jeremy.
Okay, so I'll just tag on a few things off of what Susie had said. So I only have 2 line items. The grant solicitation will be coming up again, and it's due to start probably in the next few weeks. Talking with North Region that they'll start that grant solicitation process. So if you didn't get in on the last grant cycle, then you'll have another opportunity. Just make sure you work through your local battalion chiefs with the projects they already have identified as priority projects in the unit. And these priority projects are also found in the unit fire plan. And this new 2022 Siskiyou unit fire plan is now online. So I'll leave a link in the chat and a report.
Thanks, Jeremy. You're talking about the prevention grants or the CCI grants. They come by a couple different names, correct?
Yeah, the wildfire prevention grants, the CCI funded grants.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on to Forest Service. What you have for us?
Hello, have you got me?
Gotcha.
All right.
Can't
So
see
Rachel,
you though.
oh, I turned on my video.
Oh.
It doesn't seem to be working.
Uh-huh.
So Rachel couldn't make it here tonight. There's a public meeting going on down in Happy Camp for the Happy Camp complex. So it's just me. I did put our press release about that CWCG webinar that's tomorrow night in the chat, and to just supplement the information that you shared. Fire updates, aside from the Happy Camp complex, it's been somewhat quiet. We have lots of hunters that are coming and going from the forest, and fire restrictions are still in effect. Right now, folks can only have campfires in developed campgrounds and in wilderness. We're gearing up for some potential lightning this weekend. As far as the Happy Camp complex is concerned, there's 9 fires that make up the Happy Camp complex, and all but 2 of them are 100% contained. The size is about 30,000 acres. For the complex as a whole, the containment is 57%. So the 2 fires that remain uncontained are the Elliott and the Ufish, and that's on the far western side of the complex, west of Happy Camp and to the south. So they've just been letting fire kind of back down the hill, helping it along with some tactical firing operations. We're seeing nice kind of low to moderate intensity fire out there. So they're just kind of being patient and keeping up with that fire as it backs down the hill. So on the Elliott, they're continuing to mop up and patrol containment lines out there. Fire's backing down Pony Peak. Suppression repair work has been ongoing throughout the complex, and hazard tree abatement is continuing as well. We have another team on order behind this one when they time out, so that should be sometime next week. We do have 2 area closures in place still. That information can be viewed, the specifics on it, on our Klamath National Forest website, but we're keeping an eye on those closures and reassessing them regularly to see if there's any areas that we can open up to the public. Moving on, the Montague Balloon Fair is coming, not this weekend, but next weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it'll be happening, and we were able to secure the Smoky Balloon to come back. So we're excited about that. It was fun last year. I need to connect with Kristen. She keeps reaching out to me, but I've been too busy to get back to her.
Yeah.
But I know that she was asking if there was an opportunity for you guys to come and help out, and we'd love to have you. We always have room for you guys. So
thank you.
A change in our management. We've got a new district ranger in Happy Camp, Mike Appling, who was formerly our Chief 1 here on the Klamath National Forest, has gone over as the district ranger to Happy Camp. And our acting Chief 1 is Heather McRae, who is normally our Chief 2. We'll be hopefully announcing a detailer in time for the next Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County meeting. And aside from that, I've got nothing else.
Wow, that's a lot. But thank you for all you're doing. We appreciate all of you agency folks. Shasta Valley RCD, anybody here? Shasta Valley RCD is doing a lot of good work on fuel reduction and fuel mitigation projects. So maybe next time. Or Cal, RCND. Do you have an update, George?
Yeah, just that we were funded by the Cal Fire CCI grants, the Outson Road Fuel Break Project, and I think we're in the process of waiting for them to get us the follow-up paperwork to get the contract signed. And we're also looking at that larger defense grant for the Wairika area also, and developing that. I'm probably going to be at that workshop tomorrow evening at 4 o'clock that you had listed. And then I guess there's a recording also, so I might do some homework and view that first, and then maybe have some better questions during that workshop. And I think I talked a little bit about coming up in the near future. The city is looking to update the fire hall, the city fire hall, and so they're looking at locations and looking at and also looking toward possibly having a full-time paid staff. So at least some, and then also continuing with the great volunteer work that's gone on for years. So those are some really cool things happening. I know the city of Wairika, I don't know if anybody's here from there, but they did receive 2 grants. One of those was a CCI grant, and I think it was $1.5 million. And then they also they got some funding from, I think, California to develop a position, prevention. I think it's not prevention, community resilience officer position. I think that position's flying right now, and it's in the $90,000 range pay wise. So, and that's at least 5 years. So lots of stuff going on. Wairika, the city's a great partner with the Fire Safe Council, Wairika Area Fire Safe Council, and just lots of projects going on, lots of funding coming in. But always, we caution everyone to keep doing that work around your house. keep looking for ways to improve the safety of your individual property, and don't wait for grants. And then if they come along, great, and we'll help you in any way we can. We're really looking for forward to partnering with the Fire Safe Council of Siskiyou County. If there's any way that some of that $10 million, if we can add that to the portfolio around Wairika, we'd be happy to find a way to do that too.
Well, thank you, George. I'm sure there'll be some for everybody. That's what we're hoping. We're going to spread it as best we can so nobody misses out. That's the plan. So anyway, moving on to Siskiyou Prescribed Burn. Anyone hear from there? Scott River Watershed Council. Mount Shasta Bioregional. Please hop in. Sierra Nevada Conservancy. Siskiyou County OES. Owen, are you still here?
Hey, yeah, still here. So the biggest stuff, you know, we were activated for the Happy Camp complex. The EOC was activated. We've since downgraded to warm status in the EOC. Still using Genesis Protect. If you want to get the the latest updates as far as the evacuations are going, you're going to go to protect.genesis.com. Still using Code Red for the foreseeable future. Same kind of registration process for that as it's always been. And that's kind of it for us. End of report.
Thanks, Owen. Appreciate you. Go ahead.
I just want to remind folks that Zonehaven and Genesis are the same thing. It's Zonehaven just has a new name.
Oh, yeah, my apologies. Yeah.
All right, good to know. Yeah, thank you guys. Nancy, Supervisor Nancy Ogren, update?
Yeah, a little bit. George took my thunder talking about the Wairika Fire Department. We were at an ad hoc meeting the other day. And it looks like they have 4 possible locations for a new fire hall, and we're trying to help out with a little bit of logistics on that. South Wairika Fire Department has been in conversation for many, many years looking at expanding boundary lines there. And I have reached out to the North Coast Resource Partnership because they have received grant money from CAL FIRE. And I'm kind of putting both Wairika and South Wairika in touch with NCRP to see if some of that money may be able to go toward technical assistance to help both fire departments with working on their projects. That money is really for forest health and fire resilience. So maybe we can look to help them out. So I'm hoping that works out pretty well. Lots of cooperators meetings for a Happy Camp complex. Yeah, there's just been a lot with fire lately, but hopefully we're coming to the end of fire season. So hopefully things will go as planned. And we've got some great teams. Team 5 and Team 2 have been fantastic. Unified Command has been really great. And, we just so appreciate all the work that's gone into getting these fires under control. And the fact that they have been able to listen to our local folks and the institutional knowledge that we've been able to give the teams, and they've listened, has been really wonderful, and we really do appreciate that. State of emergency from the governor was put in place for Hurricane Hillary. So that was kind of interesting. That news just came out yesterday, so that's going to be a big help to get things under control with mudslides and other things that have just happened recently from that, along with, the fire stuff. So it's always nice to get some extra support there. That's kind of what I wrote down. That kind of hit me really quick. So there you go. That's all I got.
That's a lot, Nancy. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. And yeah, I was surprised that Hurricane Hillary did so much damage this far north, but it did, even right here in Mount Shasta. So
yeah, and it did. And the burn scars always, make it extra hard for us when we have rain and all the other things that happen to us here. And that's one of the things that made it so bad. So we're lucky that we got recognized that way. So it's a big help.
Yes, I feel grateful for that, and thank you for your work on that.
Sure.
Moving on, Red Cross, Joe Bergman. I don't think he's here. Pacific Power, anyone from PPNL? Anybody from USDA NRCS Wairika? From Siskiyou County Air Quality? From Siskiyou County Sheriff, CHP, Siskiyou County Natural Resources. Okay, we're now at Stevens, the Wyden Amendment. I have heard no news about the next round of funding. Jen, do you have any information on that?
I do not.
No. We'll keep you posted as we find out. Then local updates. Black Mountain.
Yeah, hi everybody. I just want to thank everybody first for putting in such hard work to keep this group going for the past 20 years. It's so impressive to me. Back in 1994, when we first all started this group, I've seen a tremendous growth in this group, and I can't thank all of you enough, including CAL FIRE, Forest Service, and everybody that's involved with us now. I just can't thank you enough. First off, my new information, I'm starting to pick up some projects out here in the KRCE Hornbrook area. I got a couple fuel reduction programs that I'm going to start here in the next, probably 2-3 weeks when weather starts cooperating and kind of starting to get wet. Here, hopefully by mid-October, I'm going to start doing some burn projects here at my local home that I've been doing from some reduction programs, and I've been bringing all the load of brush to my place, and so I'll be just burning it here. I also have a burn project that I'm taking on here also when we start getting wet weather down on A12 in the Modoc Lane area for a customer that Dell and Giselle got me set up with. So other than that, yeah, I'm just staying busy trying to gain some people like we've been all talking about tonight, trying to help a lot of people get their homes cleared out for the future fire seasons. I've gained a few, I'm up to about 5 new projects for people out here that want 50-foot fuel reduction clearance around their homes. So yeah, I'm moving right along, starting to pick up some group people that want my help. So I'm totally out there to help them out as much as we can. Just like we were saying earlier, it's not now, it's not yesterday, it's not next year, it's right now. We need to start getting these fuels caught up so we don't have to worry about these insurance claims. They'll come in and go, wow, we do have a fire safe communities. And that's my new motto, is getting to that point of saying, wow, that wow factor of having a clean community. And
Well,
so
Joey,
that's my new goal.
We sure appreciate you. Joey's a very hard worker. He gets a lot done with just a chainsaw and a few other tools, and he's a good resource. Thank you, Joey. So next,
you're welcome.
Butte Valley has a phase 2 BRAE program that we've got in place. We've got several signed up. It's going to be about 100 acres of fuel reduction in that community. Copco Lake, no new news. Dunsmuir, from Linda Sheba, and she's sorry she can't be here. Dunsmuir Fuel Mitigation Project is doing ARC surveys starting September 25th, and people are getting notified via email about that. He's working on transitioning the project management portion. Vestra will probably begin to project manage that area. She's scheduling a Dunsmuir Fire Safe Committee meeting October 26th at the community building, and they're working on a community chipping green waste event October 21st that will be citywide. Otherwise, she says she will be caring for her mother, who's in hospice care. Linda's mom is very young at 104. Amazing. And so she's been caring for her and having to step back a bit. Greater Weed, nothing new. Hammond's Ranch, nothing new. Happy Camp, Michael Hentz reports. Even though he won't be able to be here tonight because he's at a public meeting down in Happy Camp, they're in the throes of assisting with planning for another KTREX, Klamath Prescribed Fire Training Exchange. That will be September 24th through October 7th. And another KIW Treks program, October 8th through October 14th. That means the Karuk Indigenous Women's Treks. They'll be working on that. Even with extensive wildfire this season in the Klamath, as well as related smoke impact, they are moving forward with targeting private lands burning as part of their long-term fuel reduction and community wildfire protection goals. They're working closely with the Karuk tribe and other partners and have between 60 to 80 qualified fire professionals participating this year. Base of operation is Orleans. He also attached a burn plan for those who want to look, and also a recruitment flyer for people who are interested in the K-Trex programs. All right, Horse Creek. Anybody here for Horse Creek? Juniper Flat. Juniper Flat's not here, but they had to make an amendment to their grant, and so they're out there moving into tree removal, and they just did remove several pretty good sized trees with the contractor. It was a great thing. CAL FIRE has been working closely with us to get that done, and Margie King has been awesome. So they're moving forward as well. Klamath River, nothing new. Lake Shastina, they have a Vestra is working on a vegetation treatment plan, about 6,000 acres, and we're getting close to initiating that, along with about 100 acres of fuel reduction in that area. Lower Scott River, no new news. McLeod, no new news. Mount Shasta area, we are working on a fuel reduction project on Old Stage Road, and we've gotten several parcels done there. Orleans, if you're here and I'm skipping you, don't hesitate just to jump in. And yes, Glenn, as soon as I can, I will post Mike Hence's burn plan. Where would you like me to post it? Just bring it up, or do you want me to put it on our website so you can capture it? Please let me know in chat. Salmon River, no new news. Quartz Valley, nothing new. Orleans, Somes Bar, anybody here from there? Syad, no. Wairika area, George, what's the Fire Safe Council up to in Wairika?
I think I already did that through the
Okay.
ORCAL RCD report. Thank you.
All right. So now we're at open forum. Anybody have anything to say in open forum? Wow. Okie doke. So action items for next month. Well, I think we're all going to attend webinars and get ready to write some CWDG grants for good fire mitigation stuff here. And we're looking forward to seeing what you do and what we come up with in Siskiyou County. Our next meeting will be October 11th, 2023. And I think that's about it, but I will try to post some stuff here in chat. Let me see. Glenn, I don't think it is a link. He sent me the whole flyer and I don't have it in Google or anything, so I'm not sure. Let's see. Dropbox, Google Drive. Let's see if I can find it and post it. I just don't know if I can do that. Oh. Okay, see if you can open that. I'm not really sure that it will work. It's loading. All right, Glenn, take a look and see. Yep, just click that. That'll take you there. That's the recruitment flyer. All right. Okay, you guys. Oops. All right. Any more questions? Are you all there? It kind of wiggled around a little bit. So, Jen, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'm still online. I was wondering. So, all right. We'll see you October 11th, if not before somewhere. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I'll hang out just a minute so you can capture the stuff in chat that you want. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.